Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going over this pistol that you see in my hands from Devil Dog Arms, and I know it is going to make a lot of boomers' heads out there explode. So what we have here is a 1911 chambered in 9mm. I know the gas just got let out, and it has a railed dust cover there. So that's the selection I chose to go with for this particular pistol. But one thing I want to point out that's pretty cool about Devil Dog Arms over on their website is that basically everything you see here is configurable. So you can pick your slide length, you can pick your frame size, so they make shorter, smaller, more compact ones. They make both in the slide and the frame. You can get it in 45 ACP or 9mm. I think they just added 10mm. Do not quote me on that, but I'm almost positive they did. You can pick whether you want the rail, not a rail, your sight options. You can pick your grips. You can pick the color of it, all of those sorts of things. So we're going to go over mine, but just know that if you want something a little bit different, they probably offer it for you. As we typically do, we'll start here at the bottom and work our way forward for some semblance of order. So in the gun right now, we have a Wilson Combat 10-round magazine. However, it does ship with 2 mech guard mags. We're going to get into that a little bit later on here in the video, but just know that it does ship with the 2 mech guard ones. Up front here, we have great checkering on there. It's 22 lines per inch. The same back here on the mainspring. It is a flat mainspring. That's kind of a preference thing in my opinion. I prefer a flat mainspring, and I also prefer aggressive checkering. Honestly, these are pretty aggressive. These are probably more aggressive than, say, like 3/4 of the 1911s out there on the market. But me personally, I would like them a little bit more aggressive, but it's definitely not going to slip in your hands. It's very positive feeling. It ain't going anywhere, particularly a 9mm here. And also with these grips that they make in-house, has great checkering on there. Just gives you a good locked in grip on the pistol. And in terms of ergonomics and how it feels, 1911s are hard to beat. You add good checkering and good grips on there, and they're just one of the better feeling guns in your hand that's out there. So on this particular gun, we have a left side only safety. I'm a right-handed shooter, not a huge deal to me. I don't really plan on going off-handed shooting into combat with this thing. However, you certainly could. There's techniques for that. Not really a huge issue either way. We have a very generous grip safety. It has that nice extended bump there on the bottom, so that way, really, even if you had a pretty bad or pretty poor grip coming out of a holster or something like that, it's going to activate it and it will fire when you go to fire the weapon. We have, of course, the nice extended beaver tail there, so that way, even with that hammer all the way back, you're not going to get slide bite. Definitely something I like. With original sort of GI style 1911s, I personally do get slide bite. So to me, that kind of is a big deal because I don't like to leave the range with blood all over my hands unless there's some really important reason to do so. Over here on the left side of the pistol on the grips, we have that cutout there so you can a little bit more easily reach the magazine release. It's a checkered mag release, nothing too fancy there. However, of course, it gets the job done. I was just looking at our slide stop, slide release lever here and noticing the wear on it. So I should point out finish, right? This particular pistol has their black oxide finish. However, they do offer Cerakote and stainless options if that's what you want. So again, you kind of configure the pistol for you. But this one here has some pretty good signs of wear because this pistol has been used a good bit. So nothing wrong with that in my opinion. The actual frame itself is made out of 4140 steel and basic 1911 pattern up until we get right here, as we already mentioned a little bit. Nowadays, 1911s with railed dust covers are a little bit more common than they used to be. I'm a fan of weapon-mounted lights if you're going to use them for any type of serious use. It's much more instinctive and much more intuitive than a handheld light, my opinion. Both can be done, both can be used effectively. However, I definitely prefer the option there. It's nice to have, even if you don't want to use it, you can have it. There's plenty of holsters out there for it as well these days, which again, it's just kind of a nice to have. The trigger on the gun, again, it's a 1911. It's pretty darn good. It has that 3-hole aluminum trigger on there with a set screw so you can adjust your over travel should you choose to do so. I just left it as it came from the factory. Again, we are clear. And I'll do this here left-handed so you guys can kind of get the experience with me. We have our grip safety depressed, of course, and a slight take-up. I mean, I don't know if the camera's really even picking that up. Slight take-up. Breaks so clean. On my gauge, it breaks right at 3.5 pounds. Again, I didn't do any work to it. That's as the gun came. And then that's the reset. Very tactile, very audible. Not sure if my mic picked it up, but trust me, in real life it is. And just clean break. 1911s, guys, when they're running right, they are just simply some of the most pleasant guns to shoot out there on the market. Particularly something like this. This is a 9mm. The gun, I think, weighs like 2.7 pounds on my scale, so it's not lightweight. It's just easy to drive, get really quick follow-up shots for sure. Continuing on up to the slide, it is made out of one piece of 4140 bar stock steel, and it does have oversized serrations. And one thing that makes these guns stand out, like if you're on Instagram or Facebook or any social media, one thing that makes these stand out is the 45-degree cuts they have here on the slide. I don't know of anybody else doing them. They're unique. Obviously, Devil Dog Arms is doing that in-house, and it definitely gives it a sleek look. A lot of companies sort of round that out, but it's got that nice hard edge to it, and you guys can see it's wearing there just from holster use. But again, I think it looks good with a little wear on there, and I think those edges kind of give it a distinctive look that, again, I don't really know of anybody else out there doing. But our serrations are aggressive. They're very usable. They're not just aesthetic. Same is true here on the rear. It's very, very easy to run that slide. You get a very positive grip on it regardless of how you choose to do it. Sights on this one are they're just a basic 3-dot configuration. However, they offer a number of different options. Like I said, you can kind of configure the pistol on their site. I should also mention before moving on with the video that there are a number of retailers that sell these online. So in, sort of like a pre-made package as well. So it's both. So you can configure it how you want, and you can also just pick one up off the shelves. Either one works. Just depends on what you want there. But yeah, 3-dot sights, nothing fancy. However, again, plenty of options out there. On the right side of the pistol, we just have the company's logo, and of course we have our ejection port, which is relieved, as is pretty common with most custom or semi-custom 1911s, which I'd probably put this in that category of. Up front there, we do have a custom fit bushing to the barrel. It's 416 stainless steel match grade barrel, and I can tell you it's tight for sure. It does not have a full-length guide rod, so it has the USGI type of guide rod. Whether you prefer or dislike that, that's up to you guys. Honestly, I've had good luck with both, so I don't really have a preference. If it runs, it runs, and that's kind of how I look at it. But one thing we have to talk about for sure is going to be accuracy. I'm not sure if I filmed it. If I did, I'll roll it in now. And if I'm still talking now, I didn't film it. However, I took this one out with 147 grain HSTs at 25 yards, and it just drilled a 5-shot group, back-to-backs of 2 5-shot groups right at 2 inches. Like I said, 1911s with their triggers, with their ergonomics. If these guns don't shoot well in your hands, it's probably you 9 times out of 10. So it definitely has very good accuracy. In terms of lockup, I know a lot of people like to push down here on the bushing and the barrel hood rather. It's tight. It's tight. Now with 1911s, it's always a balance between how tight it needs to be for reliability and accuracy. A lot of folks debate that. I think it's a worthwhile debate. However, it barely moves. I mean, I'm cranking on it. I don't know if the camera's picking up my thumb turning white, but it is barely moving at all. So in terms of fit, all around, the slide runs, you hear the proverbial like it's on bearings or like it's on glass. It's smooth for sure. At this point, I think we covered most of the important features except for 2, so price and reliability. Price-wise, MSRP on this gun, as you see it configured here, is at $1,199. However, they do have dealers out there. If you actually find it on dealer shelves with this type of configuration, it's probably going to be a little bit less than that. So just, take that for what it's worth. There are guns that are going to have similar features that this gun has and are going to run up $2,000 to $5,000. There's going to be guns that are 1911s and 9mm, but not quite with this feature set, that are going to be cheaper. Somewhere in the middle. It's an American-made gun by Americans with American-made parts, so generally speaking, not super inexpensive, particularly with the hand fitting that goes into it. So that is cost. And whether or not you're into that or not, that's up to you guys. That's not really a decision for me to make. Now, reliability. Typically on reliability, I'll just kind of give you guys stats. I'll be like, oh, it had 2 malfunctions or whatever. Well, this gun, as you see it right now, has had about 2,000 rounds through it. It's probably why it's all scuffed up. And the reason I put more rounds through it is because initially I had some problems with reliability. So we'll just kind of show you guys that here real quick. First shots, Devil Dog Arms, 1911. Malfunction. As you guys just saw, the first time we took it out to the range, it was cleaned and lubricated. I tried to put about 100 rounds through it of Minuteman munitions, their blue coat stuff, and I was having a malfunction pretty much every mag, and I was using the Metgar mags. Now, typically I'm a Metgar Kool-Aid drinker. However, I had no experience at all with their 1911 mags, and with 1911s, I am a Wilson Combat Kool-Aid drinker. So I ordered up 4 9mm 10-round Wilson Combat mags and got those in for the next range session to head out there. So I had 6 mags at this point, the 2 Metgars and 4 Wilsons, and went out there, and same thing, very similar reliability or kind of lack thereof. And I attempted to put probably another 300 rounds through it at that point. So I kept having very similar malfunctions, either a failure to feed or a failure to go into battery, which I guess in one way or another is a failure to feed. Now, a lot of 1911 junkies out there will tell you it's probably an extractor issue. That was the first thing that came to my mind as well. And, you know, under normal circumstances, I would just bust that out and actually start bending that extractor. However, I wanted to give Devil Dog Arms customer service a run, so gave them a call, let them know what was going on, and they issued me a shipping label immediately, like that day, and sent it out the next day. I had it back within like 3 days. So very quick turnaround, and they said the test fired, it was good to go, right? So I head out to the range, and at this time I have some Minuteman munitions. They're 125 grain blue coat, and then some Federal Syntech as well, which is a 115 grain synthetic jacketed bullet, and tried to fire that. It's American Eagle, 115 grain original mags. And after having a couple of the same malfunctions that I had before I sent it in, after I sent it in, I was a little bit frustrated, but I had those HSTs out there and I was like, man, I'm just gonna shoot this group and see what happens. So I shot the 2 groups that we talked about before, and it ran flawlessly. And I think honestly at that point, for me, in my hands, it was the first time I ran a full mag through it. Now, the folks at Devil Dog Arms said they got it back, checked everything out, ran a bunch of mags through it, it was fine. So I was like, all right, cool. Got it back out. Again, we had some issues with it. However, at this point, I had only fired 3 loads through the gun. The Minuteman munitions, Polycoat stuff, which they're a sponsor of mine, and they're awesome, by the way. Thank you to them. And then the Federal Syntech, which I have a bunch of just on hand. It's kind of like my backup load. And then the HSTs. Again, the HSTs were the only ones that ran fine. They were also the only ones that weren't a synthetic jacket. So it kind of dawned on me at the end, after firing that group, to go to my truck. Looked in my truck. I happened to have some Federal, the aluminum case stuff, which is a copper bullet. I had 50 rounds of that, put all 50 rounds through it flawlessly, right? So I'm like, all right, fine. At this point, it's like getting dark at the range, so I have to go home, come back out, and this is what you guys are gonna see next. Back out on the range to test out my theory. So we shall see. We have some 124 grain. This is Browning, 9mm. Of course, it has the copper jacket on there. We'll see. And this is a Wilson magazine. Ran flawlessly. What's up next in my pocket? So this is some Winchester. This is their super clean. It's a 90 grain load, lead free, but again, copper jacketed there. Again, that was in a Wilson magazine. So what's up next? All right, so this is some Syntech. So this is the stuff that I think may be causing a problem. We'll see. Yep. I really do think it's those synthetic jackets. It's just not getting off the feed ramp with them. There's just some, I don't know if that'll focus or not, but there's some sort of scuffing on there. It's just getting hung up on that polymer jacket. This is Wilson mags as well, guys. All right, fed that one. All right, so now we have some Tula. This is steel cased, but it does have a copper washed bullet. We'll see how it does. It's a little sluggish going home there, but who knows why. That was a Wilson mag as well. Now we have a Metgar mag that the gun comes with, and in there right now is some 124 grain Browning again with the copper bullet. Didn't lock back with that mag, however, everything that wasn't a synthetic jacket fed fine. I'm going to repeat this off camera, but I think we have found the culprit. S&B 147 grain. Now we'll test our hypothesis, I suppose. Minuteman, 115 grain poly coat. Ugh, it barely went into battery. It's gotta be it. It's definitely sluggish. It didn't go into battery at one of those. Fiocchi, 115 grain. Gotta be it. You guys just saw a small snippet of the amount of rounds we put through it after kind of figuring out that the synthetic jacket was the problem with this particular gun. So anything we put through it, bullet weight wise, whether it was bullet dimension wise, shape, size, whatever the case may be, as long as it didn't have a synthetic jacket, this gun ate it. It ate it 100% of the time without fail with either magazine, whether it be the Wilson Combat mags or the Metgar mags. So I went back home after that, kind of did some Googling around, and what I found out was I read 2 reports actually, and it was 2 different people saying that they had H&K BP9s that would not run synthetic jacketed bullets, basically the exact same 2 loads that I was talking about. They were running Syntech factory stuff and then reloaded polycoat stuff that Minuteman Munitions is running. And they had the exact same issues in BP9s, 2 guys separately. I'm not sure if it's an issue with the feed ramp angle on a 1911 or anything like that. I cannot tell you that. I will tell you though that not using polycoated bullets, it ran everything 100% of the time, and it's not a super clean or well lubricated gun at this point. I didn't lubricate it after first getting it in, and it ran them, all of them fine. So, you know, obviously I wish it ran everything fine, particularly one of my ammo sponsors, but it didn't. I just have to be honest with you guys. That's the way it is here on the channel. But I think very few people are probably loading synthetic jacketed bullets, and honestly, I've never had a problem with synthetic jacketed bullets in any other gun. I don't own a BP9 for what it's worth, so I can't testify to that. But yeah, that was my experience reliability-wise. For the vast majority of you, I would imagine my issues aren't applicable. And it also made sense why Devil Dog Arms sent this gun back to me and was like, yeah, it runs fine. And then the first mag, I had a stoppage, and I was like, ugh. But regardless, they weren't using synthetic jacketed bullets, and that's really what it came down to. So that's kind of a long way to say it doesn't like synthetic jacketed bullets, but everything else was fine. So in that regard, I'm very happy with the reliability. So it is what it is. We just report, we rather shoot and report here and leave it up to you guys to decide. So I think that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions about this pistol, anything else here on the channel, you can always post them down below in the comment section. However, the best place to reach me if you actually need an answer to your question is over at my Facebook page as always. I get to everybody over there. I'm filming this right now in the middle of the coronavirus. I have no idea when this is being watched by you guys, but I'm so backlogged right now. I've been getting like 2,000 to 3,000 messages a day. So work with me. I'm only one guy, but that's the best place to reach me, because even though I get more comments than that here on YouTube, I just don't see them the way the algorithm works anymore. So that's pretty much it, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I look forward to seeing all of you in the next video.